will know his Lord. So then the opening of the knowledge of the self becomes essential. When we don't understand who we are and what are the realities facing, the realities, not the physicality of what we think is happening. So then they come into our lives and begin to teach us. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qajal haq wa zahaq al batin. In the batin comes zahukan. My pronunciation will be not so good. But Allah describing, so verily when the truth comes, it hits falsehood and obliterates that falsehood, and falsehood is always perishing. Means for us that's the ocean of tariqah, this is the ocean of reality. It's not something that you say once and quickly go over, but it's something that we meditate in our lives, called Jal haq wa zahaq al batin, that Allah is saying that the truth can never be in the presence of falsehood, and that falsehood cannot stay within the presence of the truth, and by its nature it's perishing. So Allah then begins, awliyaullah begin to inspire from the teachings of Prophet that the amount of light that we begin to put within the soul, because we have a very small light that given to us as a trust based on our good actions, bad actions, majority of which bad actions of dunya. This soul becomes very weakened and we become surrounded by falsehood, the false desires, the false wants, all the false idols of the heart. That's what Prophet was fighting 360, what do they call, idols, statues at the time of the conquest of Mecca. 360 lata'if on the body. Prophet was attacking each one, and we are inheriting from that way. The Prophet teaching, there are 360 points like a satellite dish that picking up the reception, and each one sitting upon it is a false idol, a false desire, what it wants from the badani but not from the rohani, not from the soul. So they begin to inspire within us to understand that to bring the light of haqq, you're going to come against every falsehood, so that as this light it begins to come onto the body by itself is a falsehood. That's why when the majority of light comes, you die. Only a small portion of that light was given to the body. When your calling comes and time for you to return, the reality of your soul comes to be present with you, and your reality goes back and leaves, and your body can't handle that reality, and Allah describes it's dead at that time. Maut qabla al-maut, awliyaullah are teaching us that why you have to wait for that? The final qajal haqq. Qajal haqq, Allah says your time is up, tells your reality, go with that Malik al-Maut and get yourself back and bring him into the qabr. As soon as that light comes, the haqq of that light comes, every falsehood within us perishes and we die. Maut qabla al-maut is to die before you die. They begin to teach you, bring slowly that light back into your reality. Bring your reality that Allah has given to you of the oceans of haqq. That bring that haqq and begin to put it into your being, means give the power of your soul. As much as you can give to that haqq, it begins to destroy the falsehood. Now if we could build ourselves by ourselves, that would be miraculous, because it's very simple in science. It's like a magnet, that this falsehood attaches to the falsehood of the bad character. There's no way to repel that falsehood without overwhelming power of haqq, because whatever you try to do, the falsehood is pushing that haqq away. So by myself, trying to build myself, I go one step forward and I go 3 steps back, because every time I try to do a good, the falsehood within us begins to push back. Oh no you don't, you're not going to bring that. I'm running this badan, I'm running this body. If you try to do too good amals, the falsehood pushes it back. So they're always falling into traps. So every ayah that comes for tariqas and for haqa'iq, they are the sources of power for tariqah. So Allah itaqullah wa kunu ma'a sadiqeen. Allah knows this creation, says that have taqwa, have a consciousness. Be conscious and fearful of me, be humble, be soft. وَكُنُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. Again, apologies for the Arabic, the Arabs who listen and say, what's that? But Allah keep the company of truthful servants, because their nurul haq begin to push away all your falsehood. Now this becomes very deep part of our practice, that when we meditate and contemplate, that I can't do it myself, because this falsehood like a magnet attached to me. Every time I try to do good, it pushes back so that I won't do good and I don't achieve what I need to achieve. So then Allah says, I know your creation, so keep the company of those who are good, means ahlul haq. So then they come into our lives and teach us, well, who are ahlul haq? What is haq? Hayy al-qayyum, haq, haq, ha. Hay for ha, these are the oceans of al-hayat. Waqaf wal-qayyum means that they open the reality of the hayat, the oceans of the ever-living. Through their seclusions and their trainings and what their shaykhs have dressed them with, they open the reality of their soul, and their soul swims within the oceans of al-hayat. They're ever living, they reach their eternal reality, and because they reach their eternal reality, they are high, and they are from the oceans of high. And with the oceans of high, Allah begins to describe that that ocean of high is the reality of your soul, and your soul is qayyum. I feed your soul. You don't feed your soul. If all the world came against your soul, they could do nothing. If all the world came to help your soul, they could do nothing. Means Sifat al-Qayyum, Allah is sustaining. Means ahlul hayat, the people of the oceans of hayat, Allah is sustaining their qayyum. They reach their sustenance. They reach their realities where Allah dressing their hayat and their qayyum. So they are ahlul haq, because it's elements. Remember, each letter stands for something. We say haq, the truth. What is truth? Oh, this is truth, that is truth. No, for Allah these words mean nothing. The element behind every word is what Allah is teaching. That what makes haq to be important is ha, hayat. That reach to the hayat, reach to the ever-living life, that you lose the illusion of this temporary life and you open the reality of your soul. You are seeing, swimming, tasting and moving with ahlul hayat, the people of realities. Their association and their zikr in the world of lights is not the people that you see in the room that's important. But as soon as the zikr starts through their authorization, the souls that come to be present, these souls are hayy al-qayyum, they don't sleep. The maqams in which they're located, they don't sleep, they have no rest. That was a dunya necessity. And merely call upon them, Allah sends those souls to be present. These are the lights of al-hayy. Al-qayyum, they're not in need of anyone's sustenance. If they ask something, it's for your benefit. They're in need of nothing. Allah is supporting them. Means ahlul haq. These are ahlul haq. So then ahlul haq, now you begin to study, oh ahlul haq, because their souls are from the oceans of hayat. Their qayyum means Allah is sustaining their reality in dunya. Allah feeding them from His oceans of power, sustaining them from His oceans of power so that their reality can be present in dunya. So then very simple, if that haqq comes, Allah describes that the two cannot be in presence of each other. That by the nature of haqq and the association of haqq, every falsehood is going to perish. Perish means the falsehood can't even come through the door, because by its nature it's not meant from that reality. Means then when we meditate and contemplate, they begin to teach us that when this light coming and these associations coming and these dressings coming, it's not meant for 10,000 people to be in the room, because 10,000 people are living within their falsehood and they're happy with their falsehood and they don't want any mention of haqq. And this is the last days. And as soon as that light begins to appear, the falsehood moves away, because Allah says these are now contrary realities. So as soon as the light of haqq begins to push out and the association puts out the nur of haqq, every falsehood in people become angry, because it's now being obliterated. Allah says the haqq from that light is going to smash everything of falsehood. If we are filled with falsehood and false desires, false egoism, false wants, false desires, you think that you can just simply move into the presence of that haqq and that it's going to be comfortable? No. Every type of waswas, every type of anger, every type of negative energy going to tell you, move away. We have to keep our existence, because we didn't come here to perish. Rijalullah, their only interest is to perish in that light. And that's why then all of the poetry, all of the teachings of awliyaullah is they move into that light, and they are moving in that light to die. Means they came making labbaik Allahumma labbaik, let me move into that light, and every desire, every false want, every waswas, everything about me I have to admit is false, because I'm in the presence of ahlul haqq. But if you listen to your falsehood and come into the presence of haqq, your falsehood tells you your haqq, they are false. Well, that's nice. Allah gave them the flag of haqq, and your falsehood says, no, you are true and they're false. Means then it's a deep meditation, deep understanding for us, that to obliterate the desires, obliterate the self, that by the nature of the self it wants nothing to do with that reality. It wants to rule the heart, it wants to rule the being. And Allah teaching, no, it has to die, it has to perish, all its wants and all its desires must go, and surrender, move into that light. The more you move into that light and keep their company, then they begin to teach you. Not only by keeping their company, the haqq of their light begins to hit against all your desires. And Allah says, have you seen those who make their desires their Lord? Means by staying to themselves, they find their own desires and they pray and worship those desires. As soon as they come into the presence of haqq, haqq says, no, don't do that. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Begin to break down those desires and ihtibah. Wa atiyullah, atiya Rasul, wa ulul amri minkum, means all of these ayatul Qur'an al-Kareem is based on these realities. It's like a fountain keeps giving different realities. So when Allah says, keep the company of the siddiqs, of the truthful servants, because you have to be under their ihtibah. فَأَتِيُوا اللَّهَ أَتِيَ رَسُولُ أُولُو الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ, means hold tight to their rope, keep their company, because that light that emitting from their heart and from their madad and from their associations, it begins to burn every falsehood around us. Better to burn that in dunya than to burn it in the grave. In the grave is very difficult. In the grave there is no relief, and they say 70,000 times more difficult. If you think to yourself that every time I got upset and ran away, imagine how I felt. Imagine in the grave where there is nowhere to run, there is nowhere to go. And they said the intensity is 70,000 times more difficult in the grave. Means then what Prophet wants for us is then to contemplate and think that every falsehood within ourselves, it has to perish, so that Nurul Haqq begins to come. The more that light comes, the more that light comes, the more that light comes, it begins to extinguish everything false and begins to give clarity of our mind and of our heart. That what I'm worshipping and what I'm going after and what I'm desiring, Allah describes it's all perishing. What is it that you want? If anything other than the reality of your soul, it's perishing. I want this, I want that, I want even from family, children, house, homes, cars. Allah says they are all perishing. If what you want for your soul, then don't leave until you take your last breath. Tariqas come, they are the mawt qabla al-mawt, that come and move into that light and know that every falsehood within you is now going to be activated. If it was such an easy path, the room would be filled with 5,000 people and everybody moving in tank tops and shorts. If you go to like a Bikram yoga, there's at least 1,000 people in their room and no clothes on, because for shaitan. So all the jahal, they gather and shaitan encourages them, gather, keep gathering. But the association of haqq, they are small. And Prophet described them, they are like stars on a dark night. That these lights that are emitting are so intense and so powerful that very few have the desires to lose what they want and to lose their falsehood and to move into that reality. Now give that 1,000 times more power with the arrival of Sayyidina Mahdi, means the Mahdiyun. And these are the lights that are now moving into dunya, and as these lights begin to dress the hearts of those realities, very few people are interested in that, and that's why the whole world has been turned upside down. As Allah begins to release these lights onto dunya, with that haqq, as soon as it begins to emanate, every falsehood like rats, they begin to attack each other. We described before, Mawlana Shaykh described that there's only so much space in this dunya, it's like putting rats in a bathtub. As soon as you begin to apply a little bit of pressure and restrict the space, well now these rats begin to attack each other. And all we see in the dunya is that Allah now is releasing these lights within the hearts. As this light hits the heart, it begins to repel every falsehood away. And when the falsehood goes back, it becomes angered and agitated, because its dominion is ending and every falsehood is perishing. And Allah is helping. Say, before I would leave it to them to distinguish or to determine what falsehood they're going to take away, but Allah Sifat al-Qahhar is that, no, I'm now destroying every falsehood. Means as soon as these buildings all collapse, as soon as their companies, their corporations, their money, their cars collapse, what's left? All the illusion has been destroyed. All that's left is the weak little body and seeing and feeling the reality that all that I worshipped has been laid to dust. And Ya Rabbi tawbah, let me to reach towards the reality of my soul. Means that Allah then they're teaching us that when we talk about the last days, last days, last days, is that look on the news, look all over the world, how all of what they worshipped was destroyed. They had homes, they had cars, they had many different plans. Look at what's happening in the world, where now they don't have homes, they have barely a blanket and a cup of water, and they're running and half their children killed and the other half they don't know how to feed them. They all had hopes and they all had plans and they all thought this dunya was going forever. And Allah says, take signs, watch the difficulties that are coming. Prepare yourself to lower your desires and keep the company of ahlul haqq. The ahlul haqq, at least they can explain what haqq is. Because some people come and say, what is haqq? They say, oh, our madhab is haqq, our way is haqq. No, haqq are the people whose hearts are hayy al-qayyum, that the reality of their soul is dressing their physicality, and they're able to take from the heart of Prophet heart of awliya Allah, and they give a light and a nourishment for the soul. and prepare us and prepare the soul for these lights and these realities. Mawlana Shaykh Nazim.
All people come to him, come to the way of Sultan al-Anbiya, most honored one and most glorified one.